Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Carlton People. Today I'm going back to the roots, northern suburbs. Picked up John. G'day, mate.
That's it. Tom, my boy.
What's happening?
No, nothing much, man. Yeah, like I said, northern suburbs. That's the heart of Carlton territory. Look, we've got to keep the Greek quota going on this channel. You've got too much Italians going, so you've got to just keep up the Greek representation. Got to represent.
Absolutely, fellow suburb boy. Did you?
Yeah, thanks, mate.
I played for the Tomo Bears for a couple
Did
of
ya?
years as well. So down
They're
there,
still going. They're still going playing there.
still going, mate. I was 2014 Premiership player, first
Oh
season of
wow!
footy. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll take
cool.
that. Memories for a lifetime, mate.
Man, that's good.
It's good to have you here, mate.
No probs.
Listen, tell me. Let's start with you. This is all about you. We'll start with you and end with you. But
Yep.
I know you got a lot of stories and you've seen a lot. So before we
Mm.
get to your stories, tell me, where does it begin and how do you become a Carlton supporter?
Well, my family migrated to Australia from Greece in 1978. So both my brother and myself were born in Greece. So really, look, my parents came here older. Like my mum was 30 and my dad was in his mid 30s. So that really the footy didn't come from them. Like my dad never understood it. He always said, "What do you like this sport with the peponi, with the cantaloupe?" Well, I don't understand that. How do you play with that? So it really didn't come from him. But he comes into the story though. My cousin says that he made me a Carlton supporter when I was about 2 or 3 or something like that. So that's how sort of the Carlton connection started.
Yeah, right.
So I don't really remember it. I just remember always being a Carlton fan, but I don't know how it happened.
What's the earliest memory that you do have? Like whether it's going to a game or watching it? Like,
Well, look, because my dad didn't really like footy, I didn't go to games till later on, and there's a story about that. But I remember my first memory is my dad worked at the printing press of the Herald. It was the Herald then, the Herald Sun, and he brought back a poster of the 1982 Grand Final, Premiers '82, and I remember sort of being happy that he's got that. So it must have been a Carlton supporter by then. I remember sticking it up for some reason in the kitchen. I don't know why. Just sticking it up and just staring at that mascot, this big blue, and just being wrapped. So that's my first sort of memory. But being a teaching background, I've got a bit of a show and tell sort of thing happening.
yeah. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Oh, under my mum's house, I found my storybook from grade 1. And at the top here, if you see, blues. So I'm ensconced in Carltonness.
Wow.
You see, so that's my John's story. So yep, I don't still write like that. So by grade 1, I was pretty ensconced in Carlton.
Right.
Yeah. So look, it was a great time because I'm getting to know Carlton, and then you got Bazzasto, and the Dominator was my footy idol growing up. I latched onto him because as a kid, kids love the flashy players, and he was a hard player, and he was, always played well against Collingwood, and Collingwood hated him, and he hated them, and it was just great. It was a great time, and I know Rocco talks about it, the 80s and the 90s, and maybe you just missed that era, but it was just, I don't know, it was the magical era, especially for Carlton. So yeah.
I mean, I think whenever I speak to Rock or anyone who got to watch that era, I mean, there was you guys all talk about it, the Premiership quarter, the expectation.
Oh, man, I remember that. I remember those. And you'd always be like, don't worry, like now, up until probably that second half of this year, every time we'd be down at halftime, everyone would be like, nah, forget it. As soon as you go 4 goals down, it was always like, game over, forget it. Whereas back then, 6 goals down, you'd be, don't worry, Bazzasto will crack it, or Jono will move into the center and he'll do something, and bang, it would happen, and out of nowhere, 9-goal quarter, that's it, game over. Especially at Princes Park, and that place, when it was at its best, it was, oh man, it was like like I'm a Liverpool man in the EPL, and there's this quote from Bill Shankly, the great Bill Shankly. He's a coach, a great coach of or manager of Liverpool's, and he said
Yeah.
like being part of the COP. That the COP is being part of a big society where you got like thousands of people all around you, all united by your loyalty, and that's how Princess Park was. You'd have the Lebos. There was this guy in the cheer squad. I remember you'd have the Lebanese flag every time Mil Hannah would go near the ball. Hannah, he'd go up. The Italians would love Sauce and Campo. The Greeks, we'd love Kuda and Ange, and we were all united. It was like a little society, Maybe outside of that ground, the society's got their problems, but in there we were all like united, and it was great. It was just packed in like sardines, and it was different when the legend stand came. It lost a bit of its. It lost a bit. It became a little bit more corporate, and then it sort of died out the stadium. But in the 80s, 90s, it was great. And going there, I was talking to my kid the other day, my son, and I said, "Oh, I miss playing games at Princess Park." And he goes, "Why? You don't even fit 20,000 there." I go, "But you don't understand. It was like going home after a hard day's work. Say you'd lose the day before. I mean, the week before, Carlton will have a loss. Don't worry, next week we're at Princess Park. We'll win." And most of the time we would, Whereas now we don't. Every team plays at the G, or every team plays at Marvel, so it's not the same,
It's kind of like you had to be there type situation.
There was so many stories. Like I remember a game against Richmond in like 1994, where they were just coming up. They were shit for ages in the late 80s and early 90s, but then they came up and they were fighting for finals, and we were rocking and rolling at that stage, and we smashed them. We smashed them by like 100 points, and the place was packed. They used to have lockouts where they'd pack them in like sardines. You'd stand there like this, and then they'd lock the gate. So that's it. No more could come in. And I remember at halftime, Richmond fans tried to get out, and they wouldn't let them out. They'd be like, "Nah, you have to sit and watch." And I remember like going to the toilets and seeing them arguing with the stewards at the door, and they're like, "Nah, you're not going." And it was just because they were like, the people that worked there were Carlton fans themselves. So they were like, "Hey, you got to sit and watch, mate." So it's sort of things like that, You had an old scoreboard, but it was, I don't know. It's hard to explain. And people say to you, like, "What do you give a shit about that stuff?" But it's what makes us. And we lost that. And it started coming back. Like I could feel it coming back second half of this year when you saw like, that footage of the stands and all the Carlton fans like losing their minds and stuff. And you feel that feeling. I haven't felt it since then, since those days. And it was great. Now that we've got it, we can't lose it again,
We can't lose it again. You're just so right.
We lost it for so long. For so long, we were so divided, and I felt us all come together like those days. We can't lose it again, man. We've got to do whatever. And I think the club sort of gets it now. It took a long time, and they were a bit arrogant, but I think they get it now. That's why they, sort of, I don't know, sort of did the invited you guys down and had the tour and all that sort of stuff. And, El Presidente has come onto the channel and stuff. I think they get it now, but, we're what makes the club. That they didn't, for so long they thought money made it. It didn't. We make it. So yeah.
I think that's what makes Carlton what it is. It's, you mentioned the the ethnics. I didn't think of it at the time until you said it, but Milhana's playing, Silvani's playing, Koudafides, Christou's playing. All of a sudden, you've got three big ethnic bases to draw on with the player. So look, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, my dad, who, like I said, never gave a shit about footy, but I remember he'd drop us off at Princess Park, then maybe come pick us up. The only thing he never asked, how did the Elinopula play? How did the Greeks play? And he'd say their names in the Greek way. They wouldn't say like Koudafides and Christou. He'd say Koutoufides and Christou. Πώς έπαιξε ο Koutoufides? Or how did the Koudafides play? And if he'd say, "Oh mate, he was great," and he'd be like, "Yeah, The Greeks are teaching the Australians how to play their own
Of
game.
course, they're good.
Of course. Look at us. We're teaching them, and because the game wasn't professional then, because Kuda was more, because we're from the northern suburbs. He still lived here, and then later on, Lance. It was like spotting Bigfoot. Like, oh my God, did you see Kuda today? Did you see Manapin Plaza? Or oh my God, I saw Kuda at 5-star. Because there wasn't a flood of media back then. Seeing them was like, seeing like, an epiphany or something. They were sort of untouchable, but sort of touchable. Whereas now they're in a different world. And because he was like a boy like us from an ethnic family living in our area, when his success was our success. You know what I mean? You know the area. We do it tough, man. And to see one of us on the big stage killing it, and to a lesser extent, Ange, he's from Brunswick, same, it meant so much to us because, out there we were just wogs, like your wogs. But then you've got these wogs showing them how to play, and we was like, hey, they see, you're not calling him a wog now, are you?
Where'd you go to school?
I went to St. Monica's, mate.
You say Monica's, boy?
Yeah, because my mum had this idea of private schools, they're stricter, which was, I don't know if that's true. They're stricter, but like I said to her, like now I don't send my kids to private schools because I don't believe, like I don't want them to be Bible bashed. But my daughter goes to Ladle Secondary.
I went to Layla Secondary.
Oh, did ya?
Yeah. When you were talking about Kuda, I remember getting to year 7 because I went to Mill Park Heights Primary, so I didn't go to high school with my primary school mates. And I remember when I found out that Kuda went to Layla, that was my first early memory. I actually remember it clearly, thinking, "Oh, someone from here can do something like that. It can happen."
See, exactly, because we're from the northern suburbs, and you would have sort of maybe encountered this later when you went to uni and stuff. If you're not from here, they're sort of like, oh yeah, it's sort of like people look down on it. And when you see someone succeed, it's like, hey man, we're not just all mechanics and hairdressers,
Yes,
we can, So yeah, that was your connection, and mine was Kuda. Just seeing him Australian stuff, you're like, hey, we're not all just deadbeats around here,
No, it's true. Okay, it definitely was part of the story in instilling a sense of pride, and I'm not, just because I'm from here doesn't mean I can't do anything I want to do. And
exactly.
Kuda was my first. Kuda, everyone's got their player. I think you said Dominator was yours. Like everyone's got the one that gets them in.
Of course,
Kuda for me was the one that got me in, and then I think Fev maybe a little later, and then
same here. Fev. Well, Fev, because in the Fev years, like, what did we have really, man?
Yeah, nothing.
And especially we had nothing. We had just Fev kicking bags and us losing by 10 goals. But at least Fev kicked 5,
Yeah.
For us, for me, like I saw all the glory years and stuff. And then like when I finished year 12, it was 95. So I left the school like a boss,
Wow.
Like, all through high school, big mouth. Because back then we were cocky. I was cocky, man. Like I've got something here. Like I'd wear this badge if we go to, I hate Collingwood. I'd wear that to Collingwood games. And I'd stop wearing it because too many like ferals were coming up wanting to fight. And I'm like, I'm not a fighter. I'm from the northern suburbs, but I just did it for bands and people would want to fight and stuff. So I stopped wearing it. But look, I left school like that, and Carlton was great. And then in the early 2000s, it was like gone, like that. It was just gone. And we're like, hang on. And that's why a lot of like opposition teams reveled. They reveled in it, man.
Yeah.
Like I remember St. Kilda, freaking St. Kilda, man, were running on Princess Park and stabbing their friggin' wooden spoons into the ground. Like, who are you? Like you built grandstands with wooden spoons, and you're friggin', shoving it in our faces, So it was really hard to swallow, and that's why like the pagans were Fairs, man. But Fev was the only Fev, and to a lesser extent like Nick Stevens, but yeah, he's sort of soured.
Yeah. I felt, and I mean, I was born in 91, so I don't really remember the 90s much. Early 2000s is where my memory starts kicking in.
Mm.
And I think now, I'm 32 now, so I've had a little bit, I'm an adult, I've had a little bit
Yeah,
of experience. I
yeah.
understand things a lot more,
Mm,
mentally. I can, make my own thoughts and choices. And my perception of what happened from a younger generation is that we had built such a force of a club with this
mm.
confidence, and then the salary cap thing happens. Now, details and everyone else was doing it, irrelevant. We,
Yeah,
in my view, just couldn't adapt to the modern way that football was being administered, and we
100%.
tried to stick back to our old "We are
Yeah,
Carlton," and it was
yep,
like, we
100%.
have to go back to the drawing board and start again,
And
and
they refused to
until we do. Yeah.
because because John Elliott when he was good, but in his last 5 or 6 years, and I know a few of the jumper punch points, I love John Elliott, but man, if you can understand, in his last 5 years, he sort of lost it and he got swallowed in his own arrogance. And
Mm,
then there were vendettas from the AFL against him. He'd stick up for Carlton, which was great, but he'd put a lot of powerful noses out of joint. So when
right.
they came. They said, "You're going to do that? You'll see." And we saw, like our picks were taken off us. Like it was nearly midnight or the night before the draft. It wasn't even 5 p.m. the day before. So, you know, it was
Yeah.
just gone, gone like that. And, Elliot knew it beforehand and he panic move and went and got Pagan, who was really washed up by that stage. And it just was sort of a domino effect of the panic move of getting Pagan. Then all the salary cap started because of the arrogance. And then we just dug ourselves into a hole. It was, and that we in a way was worse than we think that the Bolton years were bad. And they were, man, they were fun, but we weren't broke. We were
Yeah.
broke. We were like Stick says 1,000 times. He wanted to hand the keys into the AFL. Like we sometimes, for shits and giggles, we shit Stern North Melbourne, they got charity club. Man, at that period of time, we were like that. I remember Graham Smorgan or whatever going onto the footy show begging for people to join up as members, and that was how, man, the great Carlton Football Club begging supporters to join. It was embarrassing, and like being broke, our crowds had dwindled. We left Princess Park, which I think was a big mistake, but we had to do it. I guess so. But it was just a really dark time, and it was hard to fathom because I got all these memories the first half of my life, and then it wasn't just a gradual decline. It was just
No.
boom. We went from 2001 finals where Kuda did his knee or whatever, 2002 spoon, bang. So we just, and then it got worse. If we thought spoon we'll rebuild, and then after that, after 2002 came the salary cap stuff and stuffed us even further. Where you think, oh, we've got the spoon, we'll get a couple of players. Like Collingwood were crap, and then they got Thomas and Pendles, and boom, up they went. We had that. We had like Goddard and Wells taken away, and second round picks, and the year after your first round picks gone too. So we were stuffed. And it
I
was
think
just
even once we had Murphy, Gibbs, Cruiser, then we got Judd the year after. I, I look back now and I'm like, we had all the right, great gun picks, but the attitude hadn't changed. And
yeah,
it wasn't
it was
until
still
the attitude changed that
it
we
was still
actually started turning
because
it around.
look, I love Sticks, but he was the old Carlton, and I love the old Carlton. That's I got this top, mate. Old Carlton, but you got to have the modern attitude. Still, remember, the old Carlton, but you got to take your business into the real world,
It's,
and that
it's,
was
it's
still
like your memories of the 80s and 90s, they can only remain there. They can't,
yeah,
we have
yeah.
to have a new version of it now.
Well, that's
You
right.
know?
That's why, I hated leaving Princess Park, but we had to. Like other teams left years before. Like
Yep.
Essendon left Windy Hill in early 90s. I guess, look, people say you can keep, playing the interstate teams there, but try doing that now. We've got 100 grand supporters. You're going to fit 25,000 people into, no way. And people, they suck now for finals tickets. Oh, I couldn't get my finals. Imagine then, trying to fit 100,000 members into 25,000. It would never work.
Yeah, it
But
would
we
never
did. We just didn't. Yeah, we didn't adapt, mate. And it took ages. And the old Carlton still remained, and even up until Lord Judice and all them, there was still a bit of the old Carlton around until recently. No wonder Paolo wanted to blow up the joint. It was the wrong. And at the time, I disagreed with him. I thought, man, we can't do this again.
Can't do
Imagine
this
having it
again.
started again.
Yeah,
You can't do this.
it's like I didn't know what the right answer was, but nuking it would just bring us back again. And look, at the end of the day, I was saying it at the time, the one thing we hadn't done in that situation is hold firm and just stick with it.
We always sacked. We sacked Pagan. We sacked Wayne Britton.
Yes.
We sacked Morehouse. We sacked bloody what's his name? Bolton Greenfield. Yeah. Teague. Well, and some of them not. You don't want to say deserved, but we had no choice. Sometimes, in some cases, but things like Rats, like come on, that was just even. I don't know. I think that Rats. You could say, he was hard done by, but also at the time, a lot of us, I'm not saying, a lot of us were like, hey, Motthouse is there. And we all believed that, hey, Mick will take us. And look, the next year we made finals. I know that. It was because of Essendon, but man, no one asked them to take drugs. You know what I mean? They were drug cheats. Bad luck. Would you prefer to have drug cheats play finals? No. So we played. We made the second week of finals, even, so, but then it just fell apart with him. And I think a lot of it was he went to the board saying we needed to do this, this, and that. And they were like, nah. And he was stubborn. They were stubborn.
That was that.
Yeah.
So fast forward to, 2023. How long has it taken you to fully believe in this new group and this new way and the way we do it now?
Look, I've always been going to games. I've never stopped going. I've always tried to believe. Every time, even with Teague, we got sucked in because we were like starving orphans.
Yeah.
He gave us a couple of wins. It was like giving us a few meals, and we latched onto it, and we believed, because we were so starved of winning for so long.
We just wanted to be happy, and we wanted to
and
we wanted to get behind them.
Yeah. That's right. And that's where a lot of I guess I tracked a lot, but that's where a lot of that animosity came mid-year because we want them to succeed so much. And that's what I hope that the club gets that we want it to succeed so much that when they don't or when they let us down, it hurts us so much. Like we take it personally.
It's true.
It's true. We take it personally. It's like someone slapping, like telling you, hey, man, I got $1 million for you. And then you turn up and they're like, no, mate, it's just a couple of beans in a bowl. We believed for so long. Last year happened, so really didn't see the attitudes change till this run now. Because we always had that. We'd win a couple of games, then we'd play the North Melbournes or someone like that. We'd get ahead of ourselves and we'd lose. And then we'd fall into a heap again. It happened in 2019, happened in 2020, the infamous Adelaide game that, Pom lost his marbles over, which that encapsulated our attitude. Carrying it off an opposition player. Come on, man. Like, in the 90s, there's no way you would have done that, and that's not a winning culture. Like, hey, yeah, you're a champion of the club, shake your hand, do the guard of honor, whatever, but not carrying him off. His own team didn't carry him off. His own team. Why are we carrying him off? And so really the attitude, I saw him believing second half of this year, and that's when I felt the fans when once we just want to see the club succeed. We want to see the attitudes of the players, and when we see that, we'll come on board.
Yeah.
And we saw them caring, so we started. Which is the win after, and then like the wins against the teams that everyone doubted us against Port. They're like, nah, forget it. Even when we played Freo over there, Freo over there, they'll bounce back, and we smashed them. Then we played Collingwood. That's all right. They've had 3-4 wins. Collingwood will put them in their place, and the Pies fans were like that. They were like, yeah, whatever. Then we beat them, and then the excuses started flying. Then all those games, Melbourne. Yeah, Cosy Pickett will happen again. And it nearly did. And it nearly bloody did with Petrarca until the hand of God, Marchbank's hand of God.
The hand of God, mate.
Hand of God, or whatever phantom touch he did. Decisions. But yeah, until then, I really sort of thought, but then when everything started clicking, the fans came on board and everything was won.
Yes.
For the first time in so long, the fans and the team was won. And like big teams, following the world game, big teams like Liverpool and whatever, and like Arsenal or whatever, the team on the field and off field, they're as one. They're all, win, lose or draw, they stick together. And we had them for so long because of all the things that had happened, all the wrongs and whatever. We had them for so long.
Also, because you have a massive crowd, but not everyone in the crowd was believing. Now, everyone in the crowd believes that they can do it.
And with that comes, so it'll be interesting to see next year what happens, because even the second half of the year, it was the feel-good story. They had nothing to lose. It'll be interesting to see now with a bit of expectation, and now we're all basically now demanding finals. It's not as if hoping. Now it's like we've done it, So it'll be interesting to see how they'll cope with that. Whereas, previously there really hasn't been any like that full-on expectation. There was in 2012 with Ratton, and that fell apart. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'd like to think that we are going to be tested again next year, 24, and I'm curious to see who has the short-term memory.
Yeah, like you said last week in your fixture video, there's a patch between round 6 and round 10 or round 11 where we play a lot of the top teams. Look, averages say we're not going to win them all, and if there's one or two or even God forbid 3 losses in a row, you're right. It'll be interesting to see, because us Carlton fans, man. It doesn't take much.
But I think the difference now is that we've seen something. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Whereas before the run of 2023, it was like, all right, 18, no good, 19, no good, 20, no good, 21, 22, so close, but still no good. Like, it was just kind of getting to the point where we thought we were going to see another year without it. And so, not to say that to be satisfied with 23 and that's it, all right, but I think at least there's like something to draw on where they can do it because they've done it.
Yeah. Like, my brother-in-law's a D's fan, and he said to me the other day, he goes, "You reckon if you don't make finals, Voss is safe next year?" I'm like, look, I think last year sort of even, gave him a bit of latitude. Like, if the fans won't be as on his back, probably, as hopefully we've grown up as fans as well. That's bought him a bit of time. Look, the last thing we need is a few losses and everyone to start going, oh man, Voss. Like this year, everyone wanted him sacked after, and look what happened. Hopefully that's taught us all a lesson. Even
I hope so.
Old Carlton
John, I hope so. I really do. I hope we have learned, because I think, me being in this game and been doing this for 6 years, that what I've noticed is a lot of the fan base, it's very easy to point fingers at every other aspect of the club that might be going wrong. Very few have been willing to point at us, the fans, and how we can improve and we can be, because we are a part of the whole story. You know,
sure.
we are a part of it. So
And the,
I
and
think
the
it's
players
honor.
always say, about how how loud they are and how much they love this and that. Maybe they're told to say that. I don't know, but they do say it a lot more now than they used to. Like they never used to acknowledge the fans.
Yeah.
They do now, but
Yeah. So I
it's true.
think the fans can also do some improving as much as
Like
what the
100%.
club
Like
can.
those that used to boo like your playerman. Like, come on, man,
Yeah.
your own player. Like
Yeah.
that's stupid. That was
Yeah.
stupid.
It's
But,
tough.
yeah.
Mm. So
Um, yeah.
what would you say your greatest Carlton memory is?
Well, I mean, that's the ticket stub to 1995 grand final,
Oh,
right there.
wow, you kept it.
Oh man, as if I'm going to get rid of that. Yep.
True. It's in good
The
condition.
oh yeah, oh man, I keep it in this book here with all my old footy. I've kept all my old footy cards and stuff in there, but I'm not going to bore you guys with that. But that day, man, look, we've heard all the players in accounts of that day. I'll just tell you a bit about fans' accounts of that day.
Yes.
I remember like making it to the grand final, and the more we won, the more you sort of shitty yourself that, what happens if we lose and that's it? We win 14 in a row and we lose. So that fear was there. Like
Uh-huh.
up until it wasn't that bad up until we lost, like we won the first final and then we didn't have the double chance anymore because we won. So it was either do or die. So it would have been a shame if we lost the prelim like Essendon in '99. They won all those games, then we pipped them. And that fear was there. So I remember getting there to the game. I've never been to a crowd that was so packed. So I remember that. I remember Tina Arena singing the national anthem and knowing that she was a Carlton fan. So I remember turning to my brother saying, she's a Carlton fan. It's a good omen. I remember the game, us being up by 40 points at halftime, and there was that brawl with Billy Brownless and Ange, I think. But I was still thinking, hey, 1970, 44 points down and we won. We could still lose, So really, you weren't comfortable till third quarter and all that. We blitzed. But this memory I do have, and my brother can vouch for this, in the last quarter when we were like 80 points up, there was this lady behind us, and I don't know how she got away with it. She cracked out this big bottle of champagne out of her bag with these white plastic cups, started filling them, passing them around to the crowd. We're all sitting there like I was 17, like I shouldn't have been drinking or whatever, but we're all sitting there with our champagne in the crowd, I mean, Blues were kicking goals, and it was just a great time. And I remember walking, buying that Premier's poster outside the ground because they had them there. Walking all the way back to the city to catch the tram to go to think. The tram was packed with Carlton fans going back to Princess Park. Remember the doors open and there were Geelong fans wanting to come on, and they're like, "Nah, you're not coming on. This is
Not
just for
today.
Carlton." Yeah, nah. And I remember the chants, like the Kuda photo meetings, Kuda photo meetings, and Ablett, who the fuck is Ablett? Just can't, all the way up, chants like that. Then you get there and it was just joy. There was random people coming up to you. There was this guy that jumped on my brother and kissed him. And it was just, everyone was just so happy. And having that memory, I really want it for my son, for my son and daughter. I want for my kids. And it hasn't happened for so long, but because I remember it so clearly, it's like having a beautiful, meal, and then you never have it again.
Yeah.
You still remember it, and you really want it, and you want it so much for them to experience that. We've never had it. I just can't wait. I really hope it comes back.
Me too, mate. Me too. I just want one. I just want
Oh
one. But I
man,
know.
yeah, just one. That's it. Because it's been so long. One will be fine. I want more because everyone's on our backs now. Like all the other teams are on our backs now because it's been so long. Collingwood's caught up. Essendon's right on our things. They'll come up eventually. Melbourne's even around the mark. So we've got to win. Otherwise, we'll go back in the pack and they'll all take over.
Yeah. So speaking of, final question. Which year will we do it? Which year do you think that they'll lift the cup up?
2025.
Yeah?
2020. Look, I think. Look, I think. I'm not sure because, and I'm only saying that because I'm skeptical a little bit about how we're going to handle the the expectation. Um, it could be next year. You don't know. It could be next year. But yeah, maybe another prelim loss might sting because yeah, it's hard to tell. You just got to see how they, you know, you, how they start off the season, and then you'll sort of, if you can see that they'll handle expectations next year, then you can even say, hey, 2024 might be the year.
Why not? Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
why not?
I feel like we've just entered the start
Yeah.
of the next era. Like the first
So
era was getting to
yeah,
finals. The next
so I don't
era
want
is
to do like the
getting to
Bulldogs did. They just went there, won the flag, and then they disappeared. They, like barely, they make the finals and they end up 8th or 7th, get knocked out, play one final. That's, I mean, that's no man's land. Yeah, all right, you make the finals. You can say you're a finals team, but really, you just don't do anything, you know?
yeah,
And you know, I think they were satisfied because it was 50, 60, whatever years it was for them. Hey, they won one, and that was it. Or even
yeah,
the fans were like, oh, yeah, we won one now. That's cool. Whereas, because, you know, the heart of our club is success. Yeah, I know you said, oh, yeah, I just want one. And that's true. But when you got one,
you're
you don't
going
want
to.
to, yeah, you
Yeah,
want two. You know, like I'm sure the Pies Ferals aren't going to say, hey, man, we've won one. That's cool. They'll be there now wanting, you know, back to back. You know, let's show. Let's go for 17. Let's overtake Carlton. You know, they showed how much they can't stand us that last round a couple of years ago.
yeah,
You're telling me that's not going to be a motivation for them to overtake us? 100% it will. And I'd love for that last Saturday in September to be us and them, the battle for 17, mate. Battle for
wow,
17. And to beat them by a point with some controversial decision, the best. Get them back. Because that I'll never forget their reaction to that one point. Just getting in everyone's faces and they reveled in it. So mate,
wow. It's
like
wild to think about it. It
imagine
would be
the town, mate, if it's a Carlton Collingwood grand final. I don't know, mate. There'll be like police presence everywhere, mate.
everywhere, every bay.
You'd
Yeah,
have to. You just imagine the losing team will just lose their plot, mate.
yeah. Well, John, mate, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for putting some time aside and sharing all your
No worries.
memories. And yeah, it's a pleasure to put a face to the name, and I
No
look
worries.
forward
I'll
to
be
chatting
around,
with you some more.
Yeah, and look, and I got to thank you for your channel because I know I latched on pretty early. You know, I remember that silver laptop with the Bound by Blue sticker on the back. I remember, yeah, yeah. I remember the Shad's bloody Shad studio, all that. So I remember those days. I don't know whether you purposely did it or whatever, but you've given us somewhere, you know, a place where, you know, I don't hardly watch AFL 360 and all that shit anymore because all they're going to do is can't lose. I know they're going to want to bag Carlton. Come on here, you know, we're together.
Yeah,
Win, lose or draw, we're together. We've got the jumper punch boys who, you know, they're a bit loose with things, but you know, and that's all of us. They're the passionate ones. You got, you know, the guys on Sunday nights or whatever, the Blue Sunday or whatever. You got the, you know, it's great to have the girls on Wednesdays, the AFLW girls and the besties. It's great to have the besties. I love the bestie roving besties or whatever they're called. Man, what a pisser.
it's
Come
good.
on.
No, we've got I think there's something, but what you said, it's about what we used to have in the 80s and 90s. I don't know what that's like, but in the modern world, we can now do it again. We all
Yeah.
come to a same place
Well,
and watch
in
and
the
talk.
80s and 90s, we had the Carlton Social Club.
Yeah,
So, you know, people after the game would go there for a beer.
yeah,
We got rid of those social clubs.
yeah,
You know, I don't know what they did, why, but yeah. So this is like the Carlton Social Club where, you know, we get there and we, you know, like if we lose, you got, you know, Rocco comes on or you know, Pom comes on, you know, and threatens to quit again. And Do you remember that? I remember that after Collingwood. That's it. I'm done. I'm done. You know, he was losing it. And who would blame him? And
Yeah, I
blame
know.
himself. Like, this guy comes from overseas and he's telling us, in teaching us about our game, like the draft pick. Like, he picked the draft pick again.
Yeah,
Like,
that's what he
you know,
does.
that's the magic of Carlton. Like, this guy from the other side of the world, you know, latched onto our club and he's teaching us. And we've embraced him, you know.
Yeah. It's awesome. No, I appreciate you being here and all your support,
No
and
problems.
we'll be here for many years to come, my friend.
Hopefully celebrating flags, mate.
Absolutely.
The
Good on you,
flaggers.
John. Go Blues.
Go Baggers.